Mercury, aluminum, formaldehyde, even fetal cells. Sounds more like a CSI episode than a vaccine conversation, right? But I'm here to let you in on a secret. Just because something sounds scary doesn't mean it's dangerous. Hi, I'm Dr. Mona Amin, pediatrician mom and person who's read way too many vaccine inserts so you don't have to. Today we're breaking down what's really in vaccines, what each ingredient does, how much is actually in there, and why some of this fear is more fiction than factual. So if you like your parenting advice science-backed but panic-free, go ahead and hit subscribe. Let's inject some clarity into this conversation. So before we go ingredient by ingredient, but also myth by myth, let's zoom out. Why are there any ingredients in vaccines beyond just the virus or bacteria we're trying to fight? Because vaccines aren't just made of one thing. They're like a recipe where every ingredient plays a role. And let's break it down. The main ingredient in most vaccines, water. Each dose is usually just 0.5 milliliters, a few drops. The key ingredient is the antigen. This is a weakened or inactivated virus or bacteria or a small protein or sugar from it. It's what your immune system learns to recognize and remember. But that alone isn't enough. So vaccines also include adjuvants like aluminum salts to help your body notice the vaccine and build stronger immunity. Stabilizers like sugars or gelatin to keep the vaccine effective in storage. Preservatives like thimerosal in multi-dose flu shots to prevent contamination. Residual inactivating agents like formaldehyde used during manufacturing to kill off harmful parts. Residual antibiotics like neomycin or kanamycin to keep bacteria out during production. Residual cell materials like egg protein if the vaccine was grown in egg-based cultures. Many of these ingredients don't even remain in the final product or are only there in trace amounts. And even when they do remain, they're present in micrograms or milligrams, literally thousands of millions of a gram. And unlike food labels, vaccines list even the things used during production, even if they're barely detectable afterward. It might look like chemical soup, but really it's the most precise, well-studied recipe in modern medicine. So now that you know why these ingredients have to be there, let's walk through some of the most feared ones and give them the breakdown they really deserve. Mercury. You've heard it. Vaccines have mercury. Cue the horror soundtrack and panic Googling. But what they're talking about is thimerosal, a preservative that was used in some vaccines, especially multi-dose flu shots. Thimerosal contains ethyl mercury, which is very different from methyl mercury, the kind found in fish that builds up in the body and can be harmful in high amounts. Let's break that down. Ethyl mercury is processed and cleared quickly by the body. It doesn't accumulate. Methyl mercury, on the other hand, sticks around and can be toxic over time. Quick comparison. Multi-dose flu shot, 25 micrograms of ethyl mercury. 1 can of tuna, 100 micrograms of methyl mercury. So if mercury makes you nervous, maybe skip some fish and not the shot. Why was thimerosal ever in vaccines? And here's the context most people miss. Multi-dose vials, so these are used to vaccinate many people from one container, can become contaminated with bacteria or fungi once they're opened. This led to some tragic deaths in the past. So in 1968, the US began requiring preservatives in all multi-dose vaccines to prevent this. And thimerosal, it's been one of the most effective preservatives used since 1930s. It protects against contamination. It's not some mystery toxin. But what about autism? This myth has been thoroughly studied and debunked. Thimerosal was removed from all routine childhood vaccines in the United States in 2001 out of an abundance of caution due to public interest. But autism rates, they've kept rising. If thimerosal were the villain, that trend should have reversed. No credible evidence links thimerosal to autism. No current vaccines for children contain thimerosal. And flu shots, thimerosal-free single-dose versions are available if you prefer. And want a full myth-busting deep dive? Head to my YouTube video, The Vaccine Autism Myth Debunked. Bottom line, thimerosal in the levels it was used in vaccines was and is safe. It's not an ingredient in childhood vaccines, and some multi-dose flu vaccines for adults do still carry it. The World Health Organization's Global Advisory Committee on Vaccine Safety reviewed the evidence too and concluded that there's no evidence of toxicity from thimerosal in children or adults. As a reminder, this channel is proudly mercury-free, fear-free, and full of actual science, so make sure to subscribe for more. Let's now talk about a word that tends to set off alarm bells for a lot of people, aluminum. As soon as people hear metal in vaccines, the panic sets in. Wait, metal in my baby's body? But here's the thing. Aluminum is literally everywhere. It's the most common metal in the Earth's crust, and we're exposed to it all the time through food, drinking water, breast milk, infant formula, medications, and even food packaging. Breast milk and infant formula for the babies. Babies are born with trace amounts of aluminum already in their bodies passed through the placenta, and as they grow, they continue to get aluminum from all kinds of normal things. So before we zero in on vaccines, it's really important to know we live in a world filled with aluminum, and the body is equipped to handle it at the doses we're receiving it. Now let's break down the actual amounts because this is where it gets really eye-opening. The amount of aluminum in a single vaccine dose is about 0.125 to 0.85 milligrams per dose. Compare that to a breastfed baby who gets about 7 milligrams of aluminum over 6 months, or a formula-fed baby who gets around 38 milligrams. And if you take just one antacid tablet as an adult, you could be getting 500 milligrams of aluminum in a single dose. And here's a wild one. Adults typically consume 7 to 9 milligrams of aluminum per day just from their environment. That's every day, not once, not weekly, daily. So yeah, vaccines are actually one of the smallest sources of aluminum exposure your child will have. But let's go even deeper into why aluminum is in vaccines at all. It's not a filler, it's not a toxin, it's used as something called an adjuvant, a helper ingredient. Aluminum salts like aluminum hydroxide, aluminum phosphate, or potassium aluminum sulfate are used to strengthen and extend the immune response. That means your child's body builds better, longer-lasting protection using less vaccine. These salts also slow down how fast the active ingredient is released in the body, giving the immune system more time to learn and respond. And they help keep the vaccine stable during storage by preventing proteins from sticking to the vial. Now, I totally understand the fear around injection versus ingestion. It's natural to think, well, isn't injecting aluminum worse than swallowing it? But here's the science. Your body doesn't treat injected aluminum like a danger. A study published in the International Journal of Hygiene and Environmental Health looked at people receiving long-term allergy shots that contained aluminum. Researchers found they excreted more aluminum than people who didn't get the shots, meaning the body is actively processing and removing it, even when it comes through a needle. The FDA also ran detailed modeling studies to estimate how much aluminum babies absorb from all their vaccines during the first year of life. Their conclusion: the total absorbed aluminum is far below the safety threshold, and the benefits of aluminum containing vaccines far outweigh any theoretical risk. Now, in terms of side effects, the most common reaction is some redness or swelling at the injection site. Rarely, kids may develop small itchy lumps called granulomas, which can last a while but aren't dangerous. A Swedish study in 2014 found this in less than 1% of kids, and most fully recovered without any complication. So here's your bottom line. Your child gets more aluminum from feeding than from vaccines. The amount in vaccines is tiny. It's there for a good reason, and your baby's body is fully equipped to handle it. Now let's talk about formaldehyde. Even just the word feels like a throwback to anatomy lab in medical school and that distinct smell of embalming fluid. And yes, formaldehyde is used in embalming. But in the vaccine world, it's doing something a lot less creepy and a lot more helpful. Here's what most people don't realize. Your body naturally makes formaldehyde every single day. It plays a key role in building DNA and amino acids, the stuff your cells literally need to exist. It's part of your metabolism. It's not a foreign invader. In fact, you already have formaldehyde in your bloodstream right now while you're watching this video. And it's not just made inside you, it's in your everyday life. Fruits, vegetables, meats, dairy, wine, tea, and even soda all contain natural amounts of formaldehyde. So unless you're avoiding all food and living in a vacuum, you're already coexisting peacefully with this ingredient. But why is formaldehyde used in vaccines? Formaldehyde is used during the manufacturing process to inactivate viruses and neutralize bacterial toxins. It basically disarms the harmful parts while leaving enough behind for your immune system to learn from. After that, the vaccine goes through purification, so almost all of the formaldehyde is removed. What's left is a trace amount. Let's compare. One pair, 10 milligrams of formaldehyde. Natural formaldehyde in an infant's body, 1.1 milligrams. Typical vaccine dose, less than 0.1 to 0.2 milligrams. So your baby already has 10 times more formaldehyde in their body than what's in a vaccine. And that fruit pouch they just devoured, about 50 times more. What does the research say? Great question. A 2004 review in Biologicals evaluated vaccine ingredients including formaldehyde and found no evidence of harm at the trace levels used in vaccines. A clinical report published in Pediatrics also confirms the amount of formaldehyde in vaccines is far below the threshold that causes harm in humans. The amount of natural, harmful formaldehyde in a 2-month-old is about 10 times higher than what's found in any vaccine. So yes, formaldehyde has a spooky reputation, but the science tells a very different story. Formaldehyde sounds scary, but in reality, it's something your body uses, your food contains, and your vaccines only include in microscopic, safe amounts. It's not embalming your baby, it's empowering their immune system. And honestly, if you trust pears, you can trust vaccines. And if you trust me, hit that subscribe button. You may have heard this one. Vaccines are made with aborted fetal tissue. And here's what that actually means. Some vaccines like rubella, chickenpox, hepatitis A, and rabies were developed using human fetal cell lines. These cell lines came from two elective terminations in the 1960s, and those same cells have been maintained in labs ever since. They've been growing, dividing, and stored safely for decades, so no new tissue has been collected or used since then. Now here's why this approach was used in the first place. Viruses need cells to grow in, and because they infect humans, they grow best in human cells. Fetal cells were originally chosen because they divide easily, they weren't contaminated by other viruses, and they could be preserved and reused long term. They offered a clean, consistent, and reliable environment for vaccine production. And here's the key point. Although these cells were used to help grow the vaccine virus, the final vaccine is purified. This means the vaccine contains no fetal cells, no fetal tissue, and no recognizable human DNA from those elective abortions. Nothing from the original tissue ends up in the vaccine itself that you or your child are getting. The cells are just the factory, not the final product. Think of it like growing blueberries in a field. You pick the fruit, rinse away the leaves and stems, and what you end up with is just the berry. Same thing here. And because these cell lines have been preserved and reused since the 60s, no future abortions are needed. This is not an ongoing process. It's a scientific tool developed decades ago that continues to help save lives today. But I want something more natural. Should I detox after vaccines because of all these ingredients? I get it. We hear, I only want natural things for my child, but here's the thing. Natural doesn't always mean safe. Snake venom is natural, so is arsenic. Meanwhile, life-saving medications like insulin and antibiotics made in a lab, even purified water, is technically synthetic. What matters isn't whether something is natural, it's whether it's safe and studied. And that brings us to one of the most important principles in science. The dose makes the poison. It's not just about what is in something, it's about how much. Even water can be dangerous in excess. And the ingredients in vaccines, they're present in tiny, carefully measured amounts far below levels that cause harm. But here's how the anti-vaccine narrative hooks people. They mention scary-sounding chemicals without context. They'll say, vaccine contain toxins, but leave out that your baby's body already makes more formaldehyde than what's in a shot, or that aluminum is in our environment already, and that you can get more aluminum from breast milk or formula than from a vaccine. It's fear without facts. The reality is these ingredients are purified, purposeful, and necessary. They help the vaccine work, keep it stable, and make sure it's safe to deliver. And no, you don't need to detox your child after vaccines. There's nothing harmful to flush out. Your child's body is already equipped to handle these ingredients because it encounters them every single day, whether you vaccinate or not. If you've been told otherwise, it's likely not science, it's marketing. And if you want to learn more about this detox trend and what your child's body actually needs, go watch my YouTube video, Do Kids Need to Detox? Let's talk about it. It's up now on my channel. We covered the major players today, the ones that tend to go viral for all the wrong reasons, from aluminum and mercury to formaldehyde and fetal cells. These are the ingredients that get the most misinformation and fear-mongering online. But of course, vaccines can contain other ingredients too, like stabilizers, antibiotics, emulsifiers like polysorbate 80. This video wasn't meant to cover every single ingredient ever used, just the ones that most often spark confusion or concern. So if there's something else you've seen online or have a question about, drop it in the comments. I would love to continue this vaccine series. I'd love to answer it in a future video or respond directly. Bottom line, vaccine ingredients sound intense, but in the doses used, they're safe, studied, and essential. The anti-vax world sells fear, and we're here for facts. Your child doesn't need to detox from a vaccine because vaccines don't put toxins in their body. So if you're here for real evidence, not recycled fear, stick with me. We've got deep dives into every childhood vaccine and so much more on this channel about child health, development, and parenting, all designed to help you feel confident in your choices. What was the most surprising fact you learned about vaccine ingredients today? Drop it in the comments, I'd love to hear it. And if this video helped bring a little clarity and a lot less stress, give it a like, share it with someone who needs it, and hit that subscribe button. Share, and share this channel so we can grow. Stay informed, stay empowered, and I'll see you all next time. Stay well.